Hello everyone, welcome to the League of Legends DFS slate breakdown look ahead talk about today for March 20th. Slate actually starts relatively soon, so hopefully can run through this one a little bit quicker. Pretty interesting slate. Start off quickly with the LPL lineups, that way we have that context in our heads. For BLG, they are bringing back in Doggo over Uzi. I mean, you guys don't really need to guess on what my stance on this is. Very happy for that. I am a notorious Uzi hater, I guess people have started calling me, even though it's feels a little unjustified, but it is what it is. Yeah, again, I think this is a improvement generally for BLG. I think they play a lot smoother with Doggo. I think they're able to utilize all three positions, that being top lane, mid lane, and AD carry. I think they're able to approach the map in a more balanced fashion, able to play through Fofo, and I think Fofo is an extremely strong laner. Same with Breathe. I still think BLG could use upgrades in jungle and support. I think when I think about, I don't know, this might be like an off-season style video, but or thing that I should talk about, I should say. When it comes to what positions matter and what is important, I think number one is probably jungler. Number two is probably support. Then it's yeah, maybe. I would say jungle, mid, and support are definitely on another tier of being pretty impactful and meaningful. And I think that's where BLG's weaknesses are. I think Fofo is fine, but I think Weiwei and Crisp are kind of not. That's just kind of what it kind of comes down to for me. I like Breathe, I like Fofo, I like Doggo, but those are the two of the less impactful roles. That's kind of, I think, where BLG's weaknesses are falling in. They are going against LGD. They get a spitball matchup here. LGD are bringing in Fearness back into top lane. They're bringing in, I think they just say it's Key. I think it's just Key. I haven't heard his name in a while, but I think it's just Key, even though it's spelled Kui. Quay? I think it's Key. I'm just going to call him Key, and if it's not that, then apologize. Again, this doesn't really move the needle for me at all. I still think LGD are like a bottom three team. I would say BLG are probably in that second tier of teams, in that, like, I don't know, 4 to 7 or 4 to 8. They're in that good second middle tier of decent teams, maybe not contenders, but definitely better than, the people below them. So I expect this to be pretty one-sided. Off the top of my head, if I were to like think of odds, I would definitely say BLG minus like 330. That honestly sounds about right. I think this is pretty one-sided. I think BLG should probably get the job done 2-0. I expect them to be one of the bigger favorites on the slate. Heading over to the second series, this one is super interesting. I'm super excited for this one. JDG versus Weibo Gaming. You guys, again, probably don't really have to take too much guesswork and thought into what my leans are going to be here. I like JDG here. As far as what odds to see, I'm honestly not sure. I think there's going to be a lot of options and a lot of things that we can look and see here. Like, I could see JDG being the favorite. I could see Weibo being the favorite. I'm really not sure. I would expect... I would probably expect Weibo to be a small favorite, like minus 150 or something. Pretty small or smaller. Maybe even like a coin flip, maybe. I'm not sure what the expectation here is for odds, at least. But I think JDG is going to be my pick regardless. We've talked about it multiple times. I think they have a super aggressive, really hyper aggro playstyle. I do think Weibo can actually contend with that kind of playstyle. I think mainly what it comes down to here for me is the top lane. I think 369 has been playing exceptionally well lately. He's probably an all-pro top laner for me. If not, he might be number one. He might be the number one top laner in the league, I think, at the moment at least. And I think the Shy is probably bottom 3, bottom 5 maybe. There's definitely some worse ones. So, but he's on the lower end of the spectrum. So I think the top lane matchup is going to be extremely one-sided for JDG. I've been super impressed with the kind of like whole composition and the way they're utilizing those players from JDG. Kanavi teaming up with Missing, Hope and Yagao doing enough as the carries. I think this is a super exciting team going forward. Yeah, I like I like JDG here. I don't know what the odds are going to be, but I think either way, I'm probably just going to lean towards the JDG side. ALWE, no roster changes here. It is just the same ZDZ, Zhao Hao, Forge, Betty, Chocho against Biu Biu, Beishong, Xie, Xing, and Kadaya. So, pretty interesting one here. I really am, again, kind of unsure on what the odds are going to look like here. If we go and look at kind of like the, at least if we look at quickly at standings, AL are at 5-9, somewhat decent, respectable scoreline. WE at 3-12. Of course, the last time we saw Team WE, they were large favorites against Thunder Talk, and then of course we saw Thunder Talk end up getting that victory there. This one's going to be a little interesting and weird for me. I still think a lot of these statements are still true, that I still think AL are pretty bad. I think we have two bad teams playing in a meaningless LPL game at the end of the year. We could see some really weird stuff. We already know AL's playstyle. We already know WE's playstyle. They're going to be probably two of the more aggressive teams. I think this is a series you want to lock and load up on regardless, one way or the other. I'm interested to see the odds in this one because that's going to dictate a lot of things heavily for me. I could honestly see this going either way. I think, again, as an AL fan, you guys are probably thinking like how crazy is it of me to constantly play AL regardless of opponent. I've played AL against all these teams, Top Esports, EDG, IG, JDG. I've played probably 100% AL throughout the whole year. Varying success. Obviously, their record is 5-9, I think. But again, they were gigantic underdogs in a lot of these spots. So, yeah, it's going to come down to the odds for me here. I think this is going to be relatively close. I think, again, we have to keep in mind AL probably the better team, looking a lot cleaner. I like them a lot. I have a tendency to want to play them anyway. But we have to remember, meaningless LPL game with two pretty bad teams, and I'm pretty high on Team WE regardless either way. Again, I think Biu Biu, Beishong, Biu Biu, Beishong, and Xie is a pretty strong trio of players actually in that top side. I just think the bottom lane is going to be a huge problem here. Betty and Chocho have been probably like one of the better bottom lanes in all of the league, which is crazy enough to say. I think they were maybe top 3. I'd have to kind of sit down and think about that one, but probably top 5. They've been really good as an outstanding bottom lane, and they're going against Xing and Kadaya, which is a really weak bottom lane. So this is going to come down to odds for me. I don't know if I said it already, but I think AL minus like 220, minus 250-ish. I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. Looking at the, it's Call of Duty. That's CSGO. That's different. All right, there we go. So we do have, okay, BLG minus 700. Again, feels kind of about the same sentiment. I just typically don't like to see minus 700s. Those feel pretty crazy. In all honesty, BLG have not been that good. LGD have not been that. They have been that bad, but if you're playing, I think LGD is kind of live here, as crazy as it sounds. The only problem is they are bringing in Key into the jungle. I think he's actually like a pretty decent jungler. It's just a concern. It feels like they're already kind of written off the season. They're already playing to test out players and stuff. I don't know. Is BLG playing for anything? Maybe. No, I think they're kind of locked into that same spot. FPX OMG fighting for that playoff spot's going to be interesting. They have a game coming up on the 23rd. They might be playing for playoffs right here when it comes down to it. So, yeah, same sentiment. It's just a little inflated of a price tag there, I think, on BLG. Like them a lot. I think they're going to be a team I like to get to a lot as well. ALWE, I'm honestly a little surprised it's that close in terms of odds. Um, I was expecting AL to be a little bit more of a favorite, and then in that scenario, I would have gone to WE. That's kind of what my initial like thought was. But seeing AL only minus 170, I wonder if people are going to end up going to WE more than they should. The reason I say that again is because if we look at the DraftKings pricing, AL is actually towards the top in a lot of these measures. Like, I guess top lane they're not really. Um, but Zhao House 7K, Forge 7.4, Betty's 8, Chocho's 5.4. Like, AL's pretty expensive and they're not that big of a favorite. So I wonder if a lot of people are going to end up going to Team WE. I think in that scenario, I'm definitely fine with going to AL. I'm probably going to end up going to them anyway. Just again, we say this every time, but I'm kind of just a fan of this team. I think it's a team I like a lot. Like a lot of their players. I like the way they play. I like a lot of things about the AL. And this, again, should be a really Fiesta-style game. Hopefully, typically this is what we see towards the end of the year when it comes to these LPL games. We have two teams out of playoffs swapping. They're kind of playing for anything. I would imagine AL players are not playing for spots. Maybe Forge is because they do have Maple behind him. Maybe in the top lane, ZDZ has not been playing well. His job could maybe be up for debate. WE's bottom lane, I think Xing and Kadaya are both replaceable. So there's something there where these people are still playing for jobs, kind of. They're still playing for spots on these rosters, so they don't want to completely troll. I think that's something that kind of take into account when you're thinking about these bottom teams. Like, for example, V5 has already locked in a top spot in the league. So the easy way you could tell is when you come to the like this page here, I don't know if it's linked in the description, but at least for visual people, if you're watching, as you guys can see, the top two seeds are pink here, and V5 is pink like in the background. So that means that that's what they've locked in. Whatever the team's background color is what they've locked in. As you guys can see, Team WE background yellow, 16th place is yellow, so they've locked in that sort of position. RNG have locked in at least the top 4 spot, so that's how you could tell their background is blue. The third and fourth are blue, so that's kind of a quick, easy way to tell what teams have locked in so far. I think, for example, like teams like Weibo and JDG, the difference between, I don't think there is any difference between like third and sixth, and I believe they're all locked in for the same spot. We check quickly on the playoffs seedings. I guess top 3 and top 4 does matter, so they are playing for something. I don't know how much these teams are really playing for seeding. I'd imagine they'd still want to, because it does give them sort of a bye in that sense, advancing one more round, I guess, automatically. So these teams are still playing for something. Again, ALWE not playing for anything. JDG Weibo, they're playing for a top 3-4 seed. I'd imagine that's, again, a free buy. Essentially, win this series and you win a playoff series is essentially what it comes down to for them. And then what was the other one? BLG, LGD. BLG's locked into the same spot in the bracket. They're going to be, I think they would only be playing for, it doesn't matter what they do. And then on the other side, they're going against LGD. LGD's locked into missing playoffs, so BLG, LGD not playing for anything necessarily. I mean, Doggo's maybe playing for a spot on the team just because of what we've seen with Uzi, but regardless, those are kind of the scenarios when it comes down to what they're playing for. It's kind of tough because I could honestly see an avenue for like all of these teams. I think BLG have a good shot of, kind of breaking the slate, if you will, scoring really well. I think ALWE have potential to be absolutely ludicrous levels of scoring, like the really bad LPL teams battling it out at the bottom. Tell me if you've heard that one before. They score pretty crazy there. I like AL a lot, and then JDG Weibo again. I think that has a lot of potential upside scoring as well. So It's going to be tough. I think all three of these LPL favorites are fine. I like them all a lot. It kind of sucks we don't have like an underdog really to pair them with, but that's kind of like is what it is. As far as the LCK goes, I know I have been reintroducing some LCK games. That is something I kind of skipped over a little bit in the recap, was that Fred Brion did actually end up getting the upset over Damwon. We didn't have any prices on them. We still didn't know anything about the Fred Brion roster, but it was just the full roster. I didn't end up actually playing any Fred Brion because we didn't know. We just didn't know the lineup. We didn't know. We didn't have odds. We had no information on what Fred Brion was doing. Kind of sucks because obviously how would have been on the underdog team there had we had any information, but I just didn't find any. I think I'm just gonna leave these LCK games alone today. T1 DRX, maybe potential there, not getting there. Kwangdong Live Sandbox, not really. These bottom LCK teams. I know this is a little bit of a going in reverse here of trying to X out these LCK games, but I just don't see it here for either of these ones, so I don't really want to waste the time. I don't want to analyze something that I'm not going to be using anyway. I want to try to keep these video length a little bit shorter than I have been, so yeah, skipping the LCK today. Going straight on these LPL favorites, it's a little gross. I don't love having to do the favorites like this. Yeah, that's just that's what it is. It's what it's coming down to here for me. I guess quickly, kind of, we have all the information and stuff that we kind of want and we're looking for. We can look at the teams here. We do have AL, BLG, JDG, LGD, WE, and Weibo. That should be the 6. Again, kind of setting it to the most recent patch and looking at the scores. So we could see LGD towards the top, JDG up there as well. I like BLG against LGD because typically I prefer to side with the teams that die more as opposed like those series as opposed to the series where the teams that win kill more. I think teams who are willing to die more enable a lot more scoring overall. So that's a good look there for BLG, I think, versus LGD. We know JDG is going to be up there. Weibo are kind of in between there. They're decent. So this is a tough one. I think there's a lot of availability. I think AL versus WE being like a slower one in terms of like combined pills per minute and stuff. It doesn't worry me really. Like again, we're not really playing for much here. Like AL were in the playoff hunt not too long ago, so those numbers can feel a little skewed. I'll just go with all the LPL favorites here. It's a boring take. We've had some underdogs not come through lately. Doesn't really play into it. I'm not getting scared of underdogs because they haven't been winning. It happens. It can happen, and I think this is a good spot for these teams. I like BLG a lot. I think LGD are just much worse. They're in shambles, kind of. I think, again, JDG, Weibo, this one's going to be close, I think. But, again, I like JDG. I like the top lane matchup there for 369 a lot. I've been super impressed with JDG lately. I feel like they've been on the upwards trend. Weibo have been kind of on a downwards trend a little. And then ALWE, again, this is one that's kind of close. I could see it honestly going either way. The WE players do scare me. Like Xie, Beishong, and Biu have been really good. I actually respect these players a lot. What it comes down to here for me, again, is the AL bottom lane. I think they're going to be able to abuse Xing and Kadaya pretty handedly. And we know how much of a super carry Betty can be. So, yeah, it's pretty gross because I know I'm not going to be able to get to a Betty captain. That's kind of the only thing that concerns me necessarily. So, yeah. Quickly, you can kind of check out the players and look at those. But I imagine we have a good idea of what we want from these teams, regardless. Can look quickly. See again, grouping Betty, Chocho, Zhao Hao towards the top. Forge and ZDZ are kind of not great there. For BLG, it is kind of the bottom lane there as well. We see Crisp missing. We see 3 supports actually there. Crisp, Chocho missing. Not that great for a lot of these other positions. For mid, it looks like not that great either. I don't know. We can go quickly position by position. We get a little bit clearer of a picture. So for top lane, it is Breathe and 369. In terms of which one I'd lean, I might lean Breathe because I think there just might be a little bit more action in the top lane there. Although I think 369 is going to have an easy matchup versus the Shy. I expect to see Kennen versus Sion a lot. I don't think there's going to be action. I think they're just going to maybe try to like kind of trade farm there. I do think Breathe and 369 are the two I want there. I'm probably going to leave off ZGZ. For junglers, I think they're all fine, but it looks like, again, Xiaohao, Kanavi are kind of a step above Weiwei. For mids, all pretty much the same. Nothing really there. For ADs, we know Betty's going to be huge numbers all across the board. It looks like there is actually a pretty big gap between Betty versus Hope and Doggo. Yeah, that's a somewhat expected. Like, I think they're all fine, but I do like Betty the most. I do think if they win, it's going to be through him, and we know he's had insane numbers in performances as well. For sports, all the same, all really good numbers. It kind of just comes down to whoever you're stacking with and whoever fits your lineup. So, kind of a quick one today, but I don't want to waste your guys' time and just talk to talk. I think Xing out the LCK, probably just going with these LPL favorites. It's not a great proposition when you word it like that, but that's kind of where we are. When it comes to underdogs, I think WE is in a pretty good underdog spot. I think Weibo would be one as well, but those are kind of like the two obvious ones. It's just like they are close odds. I do think Weibo can turn it around. They were looking really good at a point. And there is a level of unknown for JDG. We haven't seen them necessarily beat like other great or good teams. So that's kind of what it comes down to for me. I still think both of those options are fine, but I'm personally just not going to be getting there. So that's what it comes down to. So yeah, that'll be it for me today. Not too much to talk about, but can hopefully have a little bit more information and output when it comes down to it tomorrow. Should be getting a Call of Duty and maybe CSGO video up later today, so be on the lookout for that if you guys are wanting that, and I will see you guys tomorrow.